Good American Family. A heart-wrenching tale of adoption gone awry when family ties turn toxic. Some years back, I happened upon The Curious Case of Natalia Grace, a documentary about a Ukrainian girl who was adopted by an American family, only to be abandoned 2 years later. There was nothing ordinary about this story, as there was uncertainty around Natalia's real age. Suffering from spondylopiphyseal dysplasia congenita, a rare form of dwarfism, she looked much younger than certain physiological changes that were observed by her adopted mom. However, Natalia's behavior presented as a little girl prone to tantrums. Disney Plus has revisited this true life story in an 8-part dramatized series, Good American Family. The narrative is drawn from allegations, court proceedings, as well as what has been publicly reported on the story. Of course, some creative liberties have been taken to ensure it's an engaging story. The writers employed a Rashomon-style narrative, intentionally creating a polarized viewer perception of Natalia. The first episode opens with Christine Barnett, Ellen Pompeo, Natalia's Imogen Faith Reed, adoptive mother and a celebrated author on raising children with autism. What started out as Christine wanting to be a good mother and helping as many children, including those she adopted, somehow goes pear-shaped. At first, you see this picture-perfect, all-American family. Christine is doing her best to run her home with her 3 boys, Jacob, Wesley, and Ethan. Jacob is Christine's proudest success story, as he is about to start university and is making waves for his genius-level IQ. She comes across as most busy mothers do, doing drop-offs, planning meals, and taking care of her family. Her husband, Michael, Mark Duplass, is supportive and quickly bonds with Natalia when she joins their family. At first, Christine fobs off Natalia's strange behavior. She doesn't like to be treated like a child, doesn't like being told what to do, and doesn't want to be bathed by her mother. However, her gut instinct tells her there's more to the unruly behavior and outbursts. Her suspicions are slowly confirmed when she finds a knife in Natalia's room, notices she has been menstruating and hiding it, and finds her coffee spiked with a cleaning product. It isn't long before the nurturing mother changes her attitude towards Natalia, especially when she causes her to have an accident and tries to kill one of her brothers by throwing his toys into oncoming traffic. Aside from being at her wit's end, she spots something amiss with Natalia's paperwork and starts to suspect that they have been missiled on Natalia's real age. Hellbent on proving her theory and getting Natalia, who Christine feels exudes sociopathic tendencies, out of their home, they legally changed her birth date from 2003 to 1989, moved her into her own apartment, and distanced her from the family. That's one version of the story. The other centers on Natalia, her struggles with feeding and taking care of herself. She wrestles with anxiety over being abandoned, being physically abused by her stepmom. Her actions suggest underlying trauma and fear. After being abandoned by her adoptive parents, Natalia meets Cynthia Mans and her husband Antoine, who invite her to stay with them and their 7 adopted children. There are hints of Cynthia's concern being financially motivated, but Natalia is oblivious to it, as she only sees her kindness. In watching the series, I've gone from taking a strong dislike to Natalia to empathizing with her. Again, this is attributed to because the story is being told from different perspectives, and so the roles of victim and abuser constantly shift. Pompeo and Faith Reed cover a wide gamut of emotions with the varying stages of their respective characters. They are the anchors of the series, and they are marvelous to watch in a Jekyll and Hyde sense. Like the Menendez brothers, this story has seen streamers develop renewed interest in the real-life Natalia Grace. Born in Ukraine, she was adopted by Diane and Gary Saccone of New Hampshire in 2008. However, she was placed back for adoption in 2010 for her disruptive behavior That year, she was adopted by Christine and Michael Barnett and took on their surname. 2 years later, the Barnetts petitioned the court to have her birth date legally changed from 2003 to 1989, which immediately made her an adult. They moved her to an apartment in Westfield, Indiana, and later Lafayette, Indiana, before relocating to Canada. Not long after, she found a home and family with Antoine and Cynthia Mans, which then led to charges of neglect being brought against the Barnetts. However, living with her new family wasn't without challenges. And after years of being abused, she eventually managed to escape and find a home with Nicole and Vince DePaul, who have helped her find an attorney and recoup the money she lost. The porch light flickered as June Braxton clutched the photo album to her chest. The red maple trees outside rustled in the October wind, casting long, broken shadows across the white picket fence. It was the same house where her family dinners once rang with laughter, where muddy soccer cleats were kicked off at the door, and where bedtime stories echoed from upstairs rooms. It was supposed to be the dream, the good American family she'd always imagined. But now that phrase felt like a cruel joke. 15 years ago, June and her husband, David, adopted 2 siblings from Belarus, Nikolai and Anya. Their biological son, Luke, had been 8, full of excitement to finally have a brother and sister. The Braxtons were praised by neighbors and featured in a local newspaper as a model adoptive family. They were kind, educated, and eager to love. But love, June would learn, wasn't always enough. The first signs were small. Nikolai flinched when David raised his voice during a football game. Anya collected silverware under her bed. They didn't like hugs, avoided mirrors, and often spoke to each other in whispers, even after learning English fluently. June called it trauma. She read every parenting book, enrolled them in therapy, and sang lullabies at night while they stared at the ceiling in silence. Still, she believed. Love could fix this. Couldn't it? By middle school, Nikolai had become a quiet but brilliant boy with a talent for drawing eerie portraits. He sketched the family again and again, except David's face was always missing. Anya, on the other hand, developed a sharp tongue. At 13, she started lying, nothing dramatic at first, just missing homework or tales of sleepovers that never happened. Then came shoplifting, cigarettes. She told teachers her parents were abusive. CPS came, twice. Each time, June cried in the bathroom until she choked. David suggested sending them back, an idea that made June physically ill. They are ours now, she insisted, no matter what. But one summer changed everything. Luke had just turned 18 and was planning to attend Stanford in the fall. He was kind, smart, and loyal. Everything June had hoped her children would be. But one evening, he came home early from a camping trip and walked into the basement. What he found there was never spoken of in detail, not even during the investigation. Just that it involved Anya, a hidden camera, and a twisted sense of revenge. Luke left for college the next week and never spoke to Anya again. When the police came, Nikolai took the blame. "It was my idea," he said calmly. She didn't want to. But June could see it in Anya's eyes, the satisfaction, the power. The siblings were too intertwined to untangle. And the charges didn't stick. They were minors. They went back to school like nothing happened, but Luke never came home again. Years passed. David grew bitter, cold. He started sleeping in the guest room. They hollowed this house out, he told June once, after another screaming match with Anya. "I don't know who you're trying to save anymore." But June couldn't give up. Her faith was carved into her like bone. She'd made a promise. She would be their mother, no matter the cost. And the cost kept growing. At 19, Nikolai left in the middle of the night. He drained their joint account of nearly $12,000 and disappeared. The police found him 3 months later, living in a commune in Nevada, covered in tattoos, calling himself Elijah. He refused to speak to June. Anya stayed. At 21, she had a baby. No father listed. She told June, "This is my real family now." She let June hold the baby once, but never again. David left a year later, filed for divorce quietly. He took the dog, the boat, and his name off the mortgage. Now, as June sat on the porch, she traced the edge of the photo album. It was cracked, old, and heavy with memories that no longer felt true. There was a picture of the first Christmas after the adoption. Anya in a pink dress, Nikolay smiling shyly beside a tree. Luke wearing a Santa hat, arms thrown protectively around them. It had looked so perfect. Anya's car pulled into the driveway. The baby, now 3, climbed out of the backseat with jelly on her face and a stuffed bear in her hand. June smiled automatically. "Hi, sweetheart." Anya didn't look up. "I'm only dropping her off for an hour. Don't give her sweets." Inside, the little girl curled into June's lap with a sigh. "Read to me." June opened the album. Instead of a storybook, she showed her the photos. "This is your mommy when she was your age, and this is Uncle Nikolay. And that's Uncle Luke. He lives far away."